At 65, I no longer chase after miracle cures or cutting-edge machines. I chase sunlight in the morning, the rhythm of my breath, and the quiet joy of walking without a destination. In today's longevity tales, I'll take you into the quiet power of the everyday how sleeping deeply, breathing mindfully, and moving gently can keep you young far longer than any pill. We'll begin in a sleepy mountain village where I met a 98-year-old woman who never once visited a gym yet, still climbs the hill behind her house every morning, barefoot, humming. Her secret? Not magic, just rhythm. The rhythm of nature and of listening to her body. Ready to slow down with me and discover the most overlooked keys to a long and peaceful life? Let's begin. So, where do we begin this journey into gentle longevity? Not with supplements or superfoods, but with something far quieter, the kind of healing that happens only when we surrender completely. Deep, nourishing sleep. Because if there is one ritual that every long-living elder I've met protects like a sacred fire, it's their bedtime. Sleep is not an afterthought, it's the body's most profound act of repair. The night shift crew that works silently while you rest. At 65, I no longer stay up late trying to prove how useful I am to the world. I now go to bed early to prove how much I've learned from it. In today's longevity tales, I'll take you into the quietest, yet most powerful corner of health sleep. Not the kind you catch in short bursts on a sofa in front of the television, but the deep, sacred kind that stitches your cells back together and whispers to your heart, "You're safe now, rest." I used to think sleep was something you could borrow against. Like money or time or Luvas, a young doctor in Tokyo, I prided myself on surviving with 4 hours a night. I called it dedication, my wife called it madness, and my body, well, it kept the receipts and paid me back in exhaustion, brain fog, and years I'll never get back. You see, sleep isn't just restitch restoration, it's repair. It's the nightly ritual where your body runs its deepest healing software. Every night, when you surrender to sleep, your cells quietly begin fixing damaged DNA. Your immune system updates its memory and learns which invaders to fight tomorrow. And deep inside your skull, the glymphatic system comes alive, flushing out the toxic trash that builds up during your waking hours, including the very proteins that lead to Alzheimer's. But here's the part most people don't know. None of that happens if your sleep is broken or if you go to bed at 1 a.m. every night like you're still in your 20s. One of my patients, Hiroshi, came to me at 44, brilliant software engineer, but always tired. He couldn't remember names, his weight crept up, and his blood sugar hovered just shy of pre-diabetes, not because of food, but because of timing. Was falling asleep at 3 a.m., waking at 7, and living off vending machine caffeine. When we checked his hormones, the results were frightening. His cortisol was peaking at midnight, his melatonin was flatlined, and his insulin was constantly triggered. Even without eating, his body thought it was living in a state of emergency, and emergencies are no place for healing. So I helped Hiroshi reset simple things: no screens after 9, warm bath at 9:15, reading instead of scrolling, and waking up with sunlight, not an alarm, not his phone, but the sun. 3 weeks later, he told me, "Kenji-sensei, I feel like someone took a foggy mirror off my mind. I can think again." You see, your body runs on rhythm. Nothing disrupts that rhythm more than late nights, bright screens, and inconsistent sleep. Dozens of studies now confirm what grandmothers always knew: people who sleep less than 6 hours a night are far more likely to develop heart disease, obesity, diabetes, and dementia. And not just because they're tired, but because their repair systems never clock in. I once asked a 98-year-old woman in Okinawa what time she goes to sleep. She looked at me like I'd asked her something silly. "I go to sleep when the stars do," she said, "and I wake when the birds sing." She didn't use blackout curtains or sleep trackers. She used nature, and nature has never needed a snooze button. In Japan, people who live long rarely stay up past 10. They don't need to because their lives have rhythm: light in the morning, stillness at night, and their biology has adapted to the soft poetry of sunrise and sunset. I know, you're not living in a village. You've got deadlines, worries, the blue light of television and smartphones, but still, there are. Start by giving your body the gift of 7 to 9 hours each night, not as luxury, but as your birthright. Turn off your devices by 9, not just because of the light, but because of the noise it takes your brain hours to unwind from that kind of stimulation. Take a warm shower or bath before bedlet. Your body temperature drop afterward to cure sleepiness. Read something gentle, something nostalgic, something human. Keep your bedroom cool, quiet, and dark. Think of it not as a room, but a temple of restoration. Stop trying to catch up on sleep on weekends. It doesn't work. Your body doesn't want compensation. It wants consistency. The most dangerous myth of aging is that sleep becomes optional. The truth is, the older we get, the more essential sleep becomes. Because recovery takes longer, repair is slower, and every drop of deep sleep is worth more than gold. And sometimes, a second drop of that gold comes after lunch. In many long-living communities, elders take a short nap, not more than 30 minutes just after the midday meal. They don't call it biohacking, they call it living. In Okinawa, it's common to see an elderly person resting under a tree, eyes closed, not escaping the day but softening it. I call it the second sunrise. And your body, especially as it ages, often needs that small, gentle pause to continue the day with grace. When I asked a group of elders in Nagano what they do for health, not one said gym knot, one said protein powder butt. Nearly all of them said, I go to bed early like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Because it is. Sleep is not passive. It's the most active healing your body performs, and yet we treat it as optional. So tonight, I invite you, don't just sleep, surrender. Lie down not as an escape from life, but as a return to it. Let your body do what it was designed to: repair, reset, rebuild. And tomorrow, wake up not just refreshed, but renewed. This week, choose one small ritual. Just one. Maybe a warm cup of tea at 8:30 p.m., maybe a soft book instead of your phone, maybe turning out the lights and whispering, thank you to the day. Not because you must, but because you deserve it. Sleep teaches your body to rest, but breath teaches your spirit to stay. Because no matter how long you sleep, if your breath stays shallow, your healing will too. And so, after you've learned to surrender to the night, it's time to come back to the day, one breath at a time. I once had a patient who lived on oxygen. Her name was Naomi, 74, retired teacher, widowed. She had survived pneumonia but left the hospital with an oxygen tank and a quiet kind of despair. She said, I don't feel alive. I'm just breathing to survive. So I taught her how to breathe again, not with her chest, but with her belly, her diaphragm, her presence. 4 weeks later, she walked across her garden, no tank, and she cried, I feel like I'm living again. That's when I knew breathing isn't just survival, it's coming home to yourself. At 65, I've learned most of us don't truly breathe. We inhale stress, exhale distraction. Our breath becomes shallow, mechanical, like static in a machine. We breathe from our chests. We forget the lungs go deeper. Want to know what safe breathing looks like? Watch a baby sleep. Their bellies rise and fall like waves on a calm shore. That's not a technique, that's trust. That's what your body once knew before the world told it to rush and brace. When you return to belly breathing, you're not just calming your nervous system. You're remembering what it feels like to be home inside your own skin. We forget the body needs to hear one thing to begin healing. You're safe now. The oldest people I know breathe differently, like trees, like wind and bamboo, slow, gentle, present. They don't follow breathing apps, they follow rhythm. Their breath reminds them they belong. Modern research now confirms what monks have taught for centuries, that slow breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system. It calms the heart, lowers blood pressure, eases digestion, reduces inflammation. Breathing at just 4 to 6 breaths per minute can improve heart rate variability, and that means better health, better resilience, better aging. When your breath slows down, your body finally listens and begins to heal. I once sat in silence with a 93-year-old Zen monk. We breathed together for nearly an hour. Inhale, pause, exhale, stillness, no talk, just breathe. Afterward, he said, breathing is remembering that we're still alive. I've never forgotten it. Because in this world full of noise and rush, most people have forgotten how to breathe. They walk around, braced for danger, shoulders up, mouth open, breathing fast, and the body stays in battle mode. Muscles tense, hormones spike, the brain waits. I remember George, a tough ex-pilot, high blood pressure. Medication didn't help, but 5 minutes a day of belly breathing brought it down. He said, "Doc, turns out breathing ain't for sissies." That's because the diaphragm isn't just a muscle, it's a message. When you breathe deeply, your vagus nerve tells the brain you're okay. Shallow breaths keep the alarm on. Deep breaths turn it off. You don't need to sit cross-legged on a mountaintop to practice this. You just need to pause. First thing in the morning, before you check your phone, place a hand on your belly. Take 10 slow breaths. Let your belly rise like a balloon. Then soften. Let the breath set the pace of your day. When stress comes, and it will, place your hand on your belly. Inhale for 4, exhale for 6. Repeat. That's it. No incense, no apps, just air, just you. Even better, breathe while walking. Leave the phone behind. Step outside. Inhale for 3 steps. Exhale for 5. Feel the wind. Watch the leaves. Let the breath move your feet. If you have a garden, walk through it slowly, barefoot if you can. Smell the soil. Let the light hit your skin. Let your lungs remember what peace feels like. One of the longest living men I met walked his garden each morning, slowly, without headphones. When asked what supplements he took, he answered, air, light, and time. Nothing fancy, just presence. Because breath isn't just biology, it's a biography. It tells the story of how you move through life. Do you rush? Do you pause? Do you allow space for gentleness? Or do you grip life like it might run away? So today, let's return to the most human thing we do, breathing, not to perform, but to remember. Your lungs are more than organs. They are gateways to clarity, to calm down, to deep connection, and each breath is a quiet message that you are here, still walking, still unfolding. So every morning before your feet touch the ground, take 10 deep belly breaths. No rush, no goal, just air and gratitude. Every time you feel tight, place your hand on your belly. Take 3 slow breaths. Let your stomach rise. Let your shoulders fall. Let your mind come back. And every evening, take a walk. Without your phone. Let your breath lead. Not to fix anything, but to feel everything. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin, one breath at a time. Once the breath flows freely, the body naturally wants to follow. Because breath and motion are not separate, they are one conversation whispered between your lungs and your limbs. What good is a peaceful mind if your body forgets how to dance with the world? So let's now step into the rhythm that holds it all together: gentle movement. Breathing reminds you to be alive, but movement reminds your body how to live. Because what good is a calm mind if the body forgets how to flow? And what good is deep sleep if your joints have rusted and your muscles have forgotten joy, doctor? Shigeki Hinohara lived to 105, still seeing patients at 100, still walking stairs, still writing books longhand, and he didn't go to the gym, didn't lift weights, didn't follow a workout app. He just walked, climbed, gardened, and most of all, he never stopped moving. At 65, I no longer see exercise as a chore or something to check off with guilt. I now see it as the music of the body, and every gentle step, every small stretch, every ordinary motion is a note in the quiet symphony of longevity. In today's Longevity Tales, I'll share what I've learned not from trainers, but from farmers and grandmothers, from 90-year-olds sweeping porches, from elders who never owned sneakers yet still outlived their doctors. Because modern life wants us to sit. We sit to work, sit to eat, sit to scroll, and then we try to undo it all with one intense workout and call that balance. But biology doesn't work that way. What your body craves isn't intensity. It's consistent. It's not the 1-hour run once a week that keeps you healthy, it's the 5,000 quiet steps you take each day without even noticing. Research shows that walking just 30 minutes daily can reduce early death by up to 40%. That's not magic. That's just you using the legs you were born with. I had a patient, Mr. Yamada, 71, retired banker, who believed in treadmills and gyms until his knees started aching. So we made a change. Evening strolls with his wife, watering bonsai trees, sweeping the walkway, even dancing to old songs while making tea. 6 months later, he moved better and smiled more. Because movement heals, but only when it carries meaning. That's why I tell my patients, you don't need exercise, you need rhythm, you need a routine, and you need a reason. And one of the most overlooked sources of healing movement is something called NEAT, a fancy name for simple, everyday motions. Washing dishes, gardening, rearranging books, walking to the mailbox, even swaying while cooking. In fact, Nebraska AT can burn more energy than some gym sessions, and better yet, it causes less inflammation, less stress, and more joy. One study showed elderly Japanese who moved naturally every day by sweeping, walking, light chores had better mobility, fewer falls, and more satisfaction. Not because they were trying to work out, but because they were simply living. I once stayed in a town near Nagano with a 92-year-old couple who still grew their own vegetables. Every morning, the husband walked slowly uphill to collect spring water humming songs from his childhood. His wife swept the front yard, fed chickens, and picked herbs. None of it was called fitness, but every joint moved, every muscle engaged, and every heartbeat followed a soft rhythm. They weren't trying to extend their lives, they were simply living. And in that, they found something we've forgotten: the quiet medicine of micro-movement. You don't need a yoga mat, you need a broom. You don't need a Peloton, you need a staircase. You don't need a gym pass, you need a reason to get out of bed and bend and reach and breathe. My American patient, Gloria 76, widowed, lonely, and stiff, didn't need more pills. She needed purpose. I gave her a new prescription. Walk your neighbor's dog, prune your roses, and once a week, dance in your living room. 3 months later, she came back asking not for medicine, but for a second pair of walking shoes. Because your muscles don't ask for perfection, they ask for participation. So, here are Dr. Kenji's gentle motion rituals. After meals, take a 10-minute walk. Not fast, not forced, just a stroll. This helps lower blood sugar and aids digestion. Take the stairs when you can, not to punish your legs, but to remind them they still know how to climb. Treat housework as healing, not burden play music while sweeping. Let your body move with rhythm. And if you have a garden, spend time in it not as labor, but as devotion. There is no gym that trains both body and soul like a patch of earth. Because the elders who live longest are not those who ran marathons, but those who never stopped walking to the mailbox, who still climb stairs, who bend to feed a cat or pick up a sock without thinking. So this week, don't ask, how should I exercise? Ask, how can I move more naturally? Because you were not made to sit. You were made to stretch, to stroll, to sway gently with the wind, like the trees your ancestors once planted. And your body, like theirs, remembers. And once your body remembers how to move through space with grace, the next rhythm to reclaim is time. Not clock time, but soul time. Because how you greet the morning shapes how your entire day breathes. Let's begin where the elders do, with one warm cup and one silent vow. And after movement has loosened your limbs, it's time to greet the morning not with urgency, but with reverence, one warm cup at a time. Once your body remembers how to move gently through space, the next gift you can offer it is how to awaken gently in time. Because how you begin your morning determines not just the flavor of your day, but the rhythm of your entire body. And it all starts with a cup. A warm cup of water in the morning is like the first embrace you give your body after a long night apart. At 65, I've stopped rushing into mornings like I'm late to a race. I now treat them like a sacred ceremony. And the first act is always the same. Simple, silent, steaming. In today's longevity tales, I'll share with you a quiet practice found in nearly every long-living village I've visited. A morning that begins not with urgency, but with reverence. Most people wake up to alarms, to-do lists, news alerts, but your body doesn't want adrenaline at that hour. It wants water. It wants light. It wants to feel safe. After 7 hours without water, your cells are thirsty, your blood is thicker, your digestion is dormant. So before you check your messages, before you scroll, before you speak, drink warm water. Not cold, not sparkling, just warm. Some patients add lemon, others ginger. A few keep it plain like a monk with a teacup, but the point is not the ingredients, it's the presence. In Japan, many elders hold that cup with both hands. Sit by the window, breathe, sip, pause, sip again. No phone, no news, just water and breath and sunlight. This simple ritual resets your circadian rhythm, lowers your cortisol, and reminds your body that the day is beginning, gently, not with coffee. I once stayed with a retired calligrapher named Fumiko. She was 89 and lived near Mount Fuji. Every morning she opened her paper doors, faced east, and drank yuzu water in silence. Then she stretched, wrote one kanji, and began her day, not rushed, not distracted, but rooted. That's the power of ritual. So tomorrow, before your feet hit the floor, sit for a moment. Sip slowly, feel the warmth travel through you, and whisper to yourself, I'm here. Let's begin again. Some people wake with tensions crawling before they've even stretched. Coffee before water, reacting before breathing. Others wake with presence. They sit, they sip, they breathe. One wakes up with alarms, the other with intention. And the difference isn't in their schedule, it's in their peace. Which one are you choosing tomorrow? And from that cup, from that light, from that stillness, a new kind of life begins to bloom. Not managed, not optimized, but felt. You start realizing that longevity isn't built in heroic moments. It's built in rhythms, in presence, in how you live when no one's watching. So let's step into the softest and perhaps the most sacred part of all the kind life that stays with you. But the real question is this: how do we carry that same softness into the hours that follow? How do we let a single sip of warm water shape not just our morning, but our decisions, our relationships, and our way of being through the day? That's not just hydration. It's a daily vow of self-respect. From one warm cup, a rhythm begins, and if you let it, that rhythm can echo through every hour. Because longevity isn't just built in morning moments. It lives in how we carry that softness forward into meals, into choices, into how we treat time itself. And from that beginning, a question arises. How do we carry that gentleness into the rest of our day? Because longevity isn't about one perfect morning. It's about a rhythm you can return to again and again. At 65, I no longer chase perfect diets or optimized routines. I chase presence. I chase peace. And a kind of joy that builds slowly, like moss on stone. The elders I admire don't track steps. They follow seasons. They don't fear aging. They trust it. I spent time with a fisherman in Shikoku, 94, never went to a gym, never took supplements, but every day he carried nets, napped in the sun, ate what the tide brought in. He said, "The sea is different every day, but I still see it each morning, not to fight it, but to greet it. That's how I see health now, not as control, but as a relationship." You don't need perfect discipline. You need steady devotion. You don't need to measure every bite. You need to enjoy real food. You don't need to force yourself into workouts. You need to keep moving gently, living gently, and trusting that the body, when supported with rhythm, will do the rest. I had a patient, Linda, who was 70 years old. She came to me anxious, tired. She wanted a strict plan. I told her to watch the sunrise each morning for 2 weeks. No phone, no voice, just light. She thought it sounded too soft, but 2 weeks later, her voice had changed. She said, "I didn't change anything, but everything feels different. That's what happens when your life moves with nature instead of against it. That's why I ask you to try this. Drink warm water each morning. Step into the light. Breathe slowly. Eat calmly. Walk after meals. Stretch when your body aches. Rest when it pleads. And above all, listen, not to trends, but to yourself. Because you're not a machine. You're not meant to perform endlessly. You're meant to ebb, to pause, to feel. The oldest people I know don't try to live longer. They just keep living well. They make space for little rituals. They find joy in the smallest motions. They stay close to light, to gardens, to laughter. Sleep is the night's healing. But sometimes, even the day needs a pause. A nap of 20 minutes, eyes closed, feet up, the quiet in between. In Okinawa, elders call it a second sunrise, and it doesn't make you lazy, it makes you last. Breath is not just what humans do. It's what every living thing does when it feels safe. Watch a baby sleep, its belly rising and falling like the tide. No tension, just trust. That's the breath you were born with, and it's still inside you, waiting to be remembered. You don't need incense. You don't need Bali. You need breath and space and forgiveness. Especially from yourself. Maybe you didn't move yesterday. Maybe you ate something processed. Maybe you scrolled too late into the night. So what? Begin again. You haven't wasted time. You've gathered wisdom. You don't need punishment. You need peace. So choose one small rhythm. Protect it like treasure. Maybe it's morning tea. Maybe it's a walk at sunset. Maybe it's 10 breaths before sleep. Whatever it is, let it remind you that you are still here, that your body is still. The secret to longevity isn't perfection. It's permission. Permission to live slowly, kindly, gently, and from that, to live long. So tomorrow morning, don't just wake up, arrive. And as the rhythm settles in, what remains is not a lifestyle of rules, but one of steady kindness, quiet trust, and the gentle art of showing up each day as you are. Longevity is not the reward for doing everything right. It's the reward for living in a way that feels right for you. So don't rush, don't chase, don't punish. Instead, attune. Walk your own path. Find your own rhythm. Let your ordinary days become your most extraordinary gift. Because in the end, the secret to living long is the same as the secret to living well. Be gentle, be steady, and above all be kind. Longevity doesn't begin with medicine. Begins with the breath you took this morning, the warm water you just drank, and the quiet steps you took through the garden. This week, try this. 1 true. Drink warm water first thing after waking up. 2 true. Spend 10 minutes breathing slowly outdoors. 3 true. Take a 15-minute walk after dinner. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to begin. Because your body deserves to be loved. You may feel like you've wasted time, that it's too late to start. But I want you to hear this, your body has never stopped listening. It's been waiting. Not for perfection, but for kindness. You don't need to fix everything. You just need to forgive yourself. Begin gently. Begin again. Not because you failed, but because you're finally ready to care. You don't have to walk this path alone. If you find something good here, come back.